The Dallas Mavericks are heading to the 2024 NBA Finals, as I predicted, and they'll match up with the Celtics. But we're not going to focus on the finals. We'll do a finals preview tomorrow. We're going to focus on the game. This game gave me PTSD as a Suns fan because it reminded me of exactly what happened in 2022 when we played the Mavericks. Because, well, a 29-point game at half. It wasn't nearly the 40-point game at half, but it still looked like that. But yeah, we're going to go step by step on what I just witnessed and what we just witnessed and my takeaway. Game 5 started out actually in Minnesota's favor. Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards were trying to make a presence felt in the interior, and they were actually doing a good job. Rudy Gobert actually looked like he played the game of basketball before on offense. And then Luka Doncic happened. And once Luka Doncic got going, especially to end the first quarter, that's when things started to unravel for Minnesota. Rudy Gobert wasn't doing anything. He didn't even play that much, if we're being quite frank. He was like getting picked out and picked on the whole game, just like he was the whole series. But at the beginning of the game, I was like, oh, Mavericks might be in trouble. Minnesota looks actually ready to play. And then once Luka Doncic scored 20 points in the first quarter, didn't miss a three damn near, and was just playing out of his mind, that's when I was like, uh-oh, the Timberwolves are in trouble. And then the second quarter, Kyrie Irving time, but the Mavericks role players were also feeling themselves. And combining Kyrie Irving and the Mavericks role players getting hot, and the intensity. The intensity is where this game really turned in the second quarter, because the Mavericks played with such an intensity that they're actually getting to every 50-50 ball. They were 10 steps ahead. They were just doing everything at a full speed way. And yeah, that's just was how the tone was set. The tone was set in the second quarter. The Timberwolves came out strong, and then the Mavericks answered that, and ultimately that's why the Timberwolves found themselves down 29.5. And you can say all you want about Luka and Kyrie combining to score more points than them as a team, but you let everybody else on the Mavericks, you let them outwork you, let them out-rebound you, let them play at a much more higher intensity at your home court, and that's why you lost the game. And it was just unfortunate to see, because if you look at the second half, outside of the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, you actually had a feeling. Like, if you didn't look at the score, you would have thought this was another close game in this series, because it was fighting, they were going at it, they were playing defense, they're playing smart basketball, the Timberwolves were. But the first half, they started the game, and then once they got counterpunched, they didn't punch back. And, well, that's what happened, and that's why they lost. But as I said, when they started the third quarter, you would have thought that the Mavericks already won the game, especially with the first play of the game. Well, the first play of the second half, my fault, being a lob and the Mavericks dunking. And you would have thought the game was over at that point. I almost did. I was ready to turn it off at halftime, but I wanted to make a good video for y'all, so I decided to continue to watch. And I'm glad I did, because the Timberwolves started to hit a lot of threes in the third quarter. They actually looked like a competent basketball team. They went on a few runs. They were actually working. They didn't roll over, which I was impressed with. And knowing how teams act, like my Phoenix Suns, how they just roll over and don't show any fight. So I will give them props there. But they still found themselves down 25 points heading into the fourth quarter. And when you're going up against a team like the Mavericks, when their role players are hot and pepped up, since they're all about to go to the NBA Finals if they keep up playing high-intensity defense, and you got Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to continue to score the ball, and they've been scoring at will this game. They both shot over 50% this game. So defense was getting torched, and that's just ultimately why you couldn't come back in the fourth quarter. When it was 26 points at the start of the fourth quarter, you kind of knew that there was just no way. I don't even know what the score was, but you knew they weren't coming back. It was over 20 points. You're not coming back on Luka and Kyrie as the Timberwolves. Now, other teams it might be different. Actually, other teams it is different, but the way the Timberwolves played this series, you knew they weren't coming back. And that's why their season is over. And it's got nothing to do with their second half. It was all to do with the first half. But yeah, it's unfortunate for them. The Timberwolves had a great season. You could say all you want about Karl-Anthony Towns' meniscus injury because this was the best team in basketball outside of the Celtics for the majority of the year. Once Cat went down with a meniscus injury, it kind of had a setback for this team. But that doesn't matter in the playoffs. They beat Denver. They destroyed my Suns, rightfully so. And Cat looked good, and then he re-aggravated it in Denver in that series. So he wasn't at 100% this series. I'll give him some slack there. I'm not going to let him get off for his performance, but I do understand the injury with him. And that's why I'm not going to be grilling him too much. Anthony Edwards showed us flashes of his superstardom this postseason. It was actually quite interesting that they showed him entering the tunnel without even saying anything to anybody. I mean, that's some real killer instinct. Now, do I respect that? I feel like after a series, a hard-fought series, you should go talk to players, especially if you call out a player like Kyrie Irving. I would have gone talk to him, maybe jersey swap, dap him up, but he just left. Now, I don't know for sure that he just left because there could be other things that the cameras didn't show. But what I saw, gave his shoes to a kid and walked out. But other than that, I was impressed with him this entire postseason. Definitely a candidate for face of the NBA going forward. I wouldn't say he is that yet, but he's definitely a candidate. Rudy Gobert, I mean, in the regular season, defensive player of the year, obviously. But if he doesn't figure out how to guard on the perimeter, this is just going to keep happening because players in the NBA are only going to get more skilled. And Rudy Gobert he gets picked out in the playoffs. And that's a hurdle that you have to go over. Now, if Rudy Gobert was anything on offense, which is another big problem for Minnesota since practically play 4-on-5 with the way he plays because he's just non-existent. He can't do anything. He can't create anything for himself. He has terrible hands. His touch is not great unless it's a fadeaway over Nikola Jokic to beat the shot clock. He just has terrible touch and he can't do anything on offense. So if he can't figure out his offensive side of basketball, nor can he learn how to guard on the perimeter, this is where the Rudy Gobert problem really shows. Luckily, they have Naz Reid, who was amazing in the postseason, amazing in the regular season, sixth man of the year, obviously, and he really impressed us. Jaden McDaniels, this postseason, I mean, we got Jaden McDaniels. They got KD, we got Jaden McDaniels. I mean, one of the greatest quotes in NBA history because Jaden McDaniels was amazing. If he figures out how to be consistent on offense next year, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be really scary. And that's a great thing for them to have going forward because if he's consistent, he could be the true third option on this team. Right now, it's between him and Mike Conley. Mike Conley, unfortunately, he's getting up there in age. He had a little bit of an injury to deal with this postseason too, but ultimately, he is getting up there in age. He's the great veteran presence that they need. Unfortunately, he's not good on defense. He's not good enough on defense, I should say, and they do need to address that with a sixth man. I recommend Dennis Schroeder for this team a lot if they can trade him because he's a quality defender, veteran presence, and can run the point guard and play off ball. I think he's a perfect fit. But I like Mike Conley as the starting point guard going forward still. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he just needs to be more consistent. Kyle Anderson, he's a free agent. Hopefully they can re-sign him. And if they do re-sign him, they need to play him a lot more because Kyle Anderson really impressed me and a lot of people this postseason. But now we got to talk about the Mavericks who are going to the NBA Finals. Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, top backcourt in the league currently. No doubt about it. Most skilled backcourt of all time, you could argue. I mean, I would say Clay and Curry are the best backcourt of all time, but Luka and Kyrie are definitely the most skilled. It'll be interesting to see what they can do against Boston. I'll cover that more in the preview that I'm going to make tomorrow. But for now, congratulations. Luka Doncic is your conference final MVP. No doubt in my mind that it goes to him, although I am a big-time Kyrie lover. I predicted the Mavericks go to the finals, and they're going to the finals. And I predicted the Celtics go to the finals, and they're going to the finals. So, yeah, that's great for me. I don't got much else to say other than that game gave me PTSD. And, yeah, we'll talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves more and when I do 30 teams in 30 days, when I do my mock off seasons. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. This is how the format of instant reactions is going to be more often. Obviously, instead of giving a recap on the season, we're going to be doing box score reactions, but we don't really need to react to a box score if the series is over, since nothing a box score is going to tell us about this game that we don't already know. And it's not going to change anything for the next game. But yeah, stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.